and here we go.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for. You've been searching in the dark, your sweat soaking through the floor. Buried in your bones, there's an ache that you can't ignore. Taking your breath, stealing your mind, and all that was real is left behind. The breaking at the brick of every wall that's holding all that you know. So tell me, do you want to go? Where it's covered in all the color lights. It's where the runaways are running the night. Impossible comes true, it's taking over you.
This is the greatest show.
We light it up, we won't come down.
And the sun can't stop us now.
Watching it come true, it's taking over you.
All right. I love that movie, by the way. Greatest Showman. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. So today, the reason I'm showing that is because we've got a special guest with us today. We've got a mentor of mine. I want to introduce him. You saw a few of the things that he was doing. This gentleman worked for Barnum and Bailey Circus for many years. He's done 500 shows, over 6 million viewers. People coming to watch these Barnum and Bailey Circus shows, just unbelievable. I love him because he actually was a mentor of mine growing up. When I was school age, he was a person who had a great influence in my life, and that's why I wanted to invite him today. And so when I was a kid, there was something that really I realized he had a special magic to who he was. And I figured it out now that I'm an adult. And I haven't told him this yet, but I'm going to tell everybody at home because I think you're going to relate to this. He's made up of 4 different parts, 4 different very successful people, and I'm going to put it together for you, all right? One is P.T. Barnum because he's got an engaging stage presence. 2, Martin Short because he's really funny. 3, he's like Houdini because he's got all this mysteriousness and magic to him. And the fourth part, I hope he's not going to take offense to this, but he's like Ernest P. Worrell because he's just so doggone likable. You just can't not like this guy. And with that kind of an introduction, I do want to introduce you today to a good friend and mentor of mine named Matt Wright. Matt, thanks so much for joining us here today on Finding Ithaca.
Hello, great to be here.
So we also have another guest with us today. His name is Liam. Liam, why don't you say hello to everybody?
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Liam. I appreciate it. So we are doing a commentary on one of the stories we did together that I wrote called Failing to See. And in that story, a young boy goes on a dangerous journey to a king's castle. And along the way, he experiences many failures. And when he gets there, he thinks that he's just really blown it. He's like, I've just messed up in all these ways. And the king sees something different. He sees that young man is a success because he's endured all these trials and it's strengthened the person that he is. So today, the topic of our discussion is about differing perspectives and having positive self-talk, having a new mindset that tells ourselves that we can be successful, that our mistakes don't define us. We can step forward into a bright new future every single day, and we can believe that we are great, that we are highly favored, that we are someone who is loved and cared about, that we are someone who can have confidence. Okay, so let's see. I wanted to kind of address the problem first with you, Liam. Can you kind of describe, I don't know if you're able to, if you don't feel comfortable, just shoot it back to me and I'm happy to fill in the blanks, but I want you to kind of tell me what's a little bit of what has been the problem that as far as you understand it.
I don't really remember that much.
I don't remember that much. Well, your mom described it to me. I'm going to give you a little bit of a segue here. So your mom said you've been kind of a little bit hard on yourself. You've been saying some things like doubting yourself. You've been feeling like, man, I'm not that smart. Or I'm not that, I can't seem to do anything right. I've made lots of mistakes. Is that kind of true?
Yes.
Do you want to tell me when you kind of feel that way?
Like when I lose something.
You lose something. You mean like you lose something at home, like something that's valuable, or are you talking about something else?
Something else, like a video gamer.
Okay, so you maybe fail at something like a video game, right? Or
Mhm.
at anything. We all can relate to that. We all have failed at something, right? And so when you fail at something, the tendency is to want to think, I'm a failure. And that's just not true. Matt, I wondered if you wanted to jump in at all and talk a little bit about how maybe your schooling is related to this.
Liam, I identify with what you're going through right now so well, you're not going to believe it. Because I remember my mom dragging me and me crying to second grade because I didn't feel good enough. Because I found out later I had a reading problem. And also, my brother and sister were so smart, I was comparing myself with them and not being myself. And so that my self-doubt and self-esteem was low. I didn't know this or realize this until much later on, probably middle school. But one thing I learned is I had to apply myself each and every day a little bit, work at things a little bit better, more and more each day. And whether it's little things to overcome. And overcoming is one of the things. Work ethic, making the little extra effort each and every day versus self-doubt and stop. Sometimes I felt that schooling was overwhelming. So I kind of said, oh, what the use? But when I started applying the principles of a little bit each and every day, doing a little bit better, and actually my parents did find a friend to help me out to talk with, that really helped over time.
I like that.
So I'll tell you, as a circus performer, I'll say this. For one thing I learned now as a circus performer, one day I decided I was going to juggle. I could juggle 3 balls, 4 balls, but I couldn't juggle 5. So I decided that I was going to juggle 5 balls. So I said 5 minutes a day, every day for 5 days. I mean, for 5 weeks. So 5 minutes. The first day I went out, I couldn't juggle. I spent about 5-10 minutes, and a guy came out and said, well, I want to learn how to juggle. So he came out the first day. Second day, I went out. I juggled 5 minutes. He didn't come out. A week later, he shows up and tries to juggle. In 3 weeks, I could juggle 5 balls, and fairly well. But it was applying a little bit each and every day versus trying to take off everything at once. And that's how I look back at how I overcame things starting in second grade to middle school, probably, about overcoming and my work ethic towards school. And that's how I kind of overcame a lot of that.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing that, Matt. I wanted to also jump in and say that what we see is not always what's really happening, and that's not the true picture. I was going to show a couple tricks of yours, Matt. I got one right here. Let me see. Make sure I've got the volume turned on. That's always important. Yep, we're good. Okay. And having trouble sharing the video right now. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties. Sorry about that. I'm having trouble sharing the video at this time. But I wanted to jump into something else really quick. There's something called globalized thinking that I wanted to mention to you, Liam, and that's when we say things like always and never, like I'm always making mistakes, or I can never get this right. Those are things that are just not true. And we got to tell ourselves the truth. We can't believe lies about ourselves. We got to actually have a real narrative, not a false narrative. Does that make sense to you, Liam?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if you remember the analogy that I had back about Times Square. I said, when you visit Times Square, you get so many different messages coming at you. You think, you see all the different screens up in New York City, and it's like, buy this, Coca-Cola this, come see this movie, da-da-da-da. There's all kinds of messages. And it's a little bit like life. Liam, because in life, we always get messages about ourselves. We hear from our mom, I love you so much. You know, you hear you're loved. Your teacher says you're so smart. So you hear positive messages. You also hear negative ones. Your friends sometimes might say, oh, that's an ugly haircut, or, you know, I don't like those shoes, or whatever it is. And then you start feeling negatively about yourself. But we have a choice, Liam, as to whose voice you want to listen to. So I'm going to ask you today, whose voice do you want to listen to about you? And sometimes we even have different positive and negative voices within our own heads, right? So it's important that we're able to figure out the difference between positive and negative, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see here. I wanted to, Matt wanted to discuss kind of a different, that sort of tag along with that, having different perspectives about ourselves. And he had an analogy he wanted to share with you, Matt.
Hey, Liam, what two colors is this card?
Red,
And what color?
white.
Red and white. Correct?
Yes.
No, it's not. It's actually, everybody thinks it's red and white, but it's actually blue and white. Now, here's the thing that I didn't realize when I was your age. I always looked at things at one way. And if the way I look at it, if I turn around, what two colors do I see it as?
Blue and white.
You're right. A lot of the times we look at ourselves in only one way. We don't see ourselves how your mother says, I love you. We don't always feel that or how we perceive that. And it's just like in life. It's like we need to look at both sides of the scenario in both situations and understand that. And like those negative things that goes on and you're worried about, that's only the way you're perceiving it, maybe not the reality and what is going on. Do you understand that?
Yes.
So,
Right.
And sometimes, Liam, it takes somebody telling you something for you to be able to believe it. Sometimes it's like it's someone that wants to kind of instill confidence in you, that comes along and puts a hand on the shoulder and says, you know what, you are a kid is amazing. You're a kid who has confidence, right? And so it's important that you hear that message today, that you are fantastic. You are amazing. You can do great things. You just have to start believing it, right? There's another thing that I want to talk to you about. There was an experiment done with rice. They took rice, they put rice in different rooms, right? And scientists did this, and they started speaking positive and negative words to different rice in different rooms. Now, the positive words that were spoken over the rice, that rice was very fresh for a long time, but the negative words actually caused the rice to rot and get smelly. And when we say, you know, when people say rotten things to us, it makes us feel pretty rotten inside, right? And the same thing is true when you say rotten things about yourself. You don't want to do that. You want to get every day, you have to speak fresh words of life into yourself, right? So that you can feel good about getting up and good about yourself. And guess what? The minute you start speaking that, words are powerful. You will actually start to feel it. Once the thoughts get in your brain, they permeate down to your heart, to your feelings, and your actions will start to be a reflection of that. It's unbelievable. So anyway, I hope that this has been a positive conversation for you. What have you learned today that you want to share back with us that you've heard us talking to you about? Can you repeat back anything that you feel like you've taken away from what we've discussed today?
Mm.
We talked about some important things. What do you think is most important for you to do starting right now and starting tomorrow morning?
To think positive and don't give up on yourself.
Dude, money. That's amazing.
And Liam, at your age, I didn't believe all the things I would accomplish in my life. As far as I applied, there were 6,237 applicants to Clown College. Only 57 were chosen, 44 finished, 13 got contracts. I actually ended up being a clown with Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey and entertaining in front of 6 million people a year. I ended up being #2 man in a scientific company. I ended up passing this state board exam of HVAC to be a big licensed contractor. At your age, even in middle school, I didn't think I could do that, but that little bit of work each and every day, I overcame. So I would encourage you to understand that. There's a lot you can do.
Yes, there is. Liam, I don't know if he's really a clown. I haven't seen a clown nose yet. Have you?
No.
There you go.
No, how about now? And
Yeah, I do
you
now.
know if you take the clown nose and put it actually it tastes funny. Wait a minute. Yeah, wait. One more thing. Do you know all things are possible? See, because if you take a red handkerchief and get really, really small, it actually gets so small it gets down in the bloodstream you can't see it. But if you reach right there, you can actually make it reappear. It seems impossible, but it is possible. Just like you in school and other things. Which way is this pointing?
Down,
Yeah. Now it's pointing.
up,
Now it's pointing.
down,
No. Now it's pointing.
down.
Wait a minute. It's down. Yeah. But if you look at it a different way, it's still pointing down.
Huh?
Huh? Well, and if you cut off the blood circulation in your hand, it actually creates a magnetic field and it'll just stay there. You see? It just stays there. But it might seem impossible, but there's always a secret and a thing you can overcome in life.
He showed you how to do that trick. You just put your little hand right there, right? And you can just pretend like it's on
Yeah.
it. So there's always a secret. Magic, there's a secret, and you've just learned a secret today. How cool is that? So Liam, thanks so much for coming on to talk to us. Matt, it's such a pleasure to talk to you again. I'm so grateful you decided to come on this show with us today on Finding Ithaca. We're going to sign off pretty quick, but is there anything else you want to say to our viewers here on Finding Ithaca, Matt?
God bless you. Keep up the good faith. Think positive. Do a little bit each and every day, and you'll overcome anything obstacle that you can.